Yes, good morning, everyone. The topic that I'm going to present today is about Scrum versus Scrum of Scrums. First, I will define Scrum framework and discuss its pros and cons. Then I will talk about Scrum of Scrums and its differences from the Scrum. Can we change the slide? Okay. So, Scrum is referred to as an agile project management framework, and this framework is designed to guide teams in iterative and incremental delivery of product. The main focus of the Scrum is to use a process to allow the teams to respond fastly, efficiently, and effectively to change. So this is the main focus. Scrum heavily relies on collaboration between the team and customer or customer representative in order to create the right product. So this is basically the main focus of Scrum. If we talk about Scrum, it gives a structure for delivery, but it doesn't tell how to do specific practices. So this is left to the team to decide. The team decides how to. It just gives the structure to the team. As about the size of the Scrum teams, it's the basic principle of Scrum, as Mr. Jasser told us last time, it's according to the 7+-2 rule. So the Scrum teams should be 5 to 9 members. And at the same time, if we look at the Scrum guide, it says that it shouldn't be less than 3 and not more than 9. Why not less than 3? Because there are 3 major roles that are important in the Scrum team: the Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Development team. So that's why you cannot have less than 3 members. These 3 roles should be presented. I was asked to also define the roles and the responsibility of each role. So the Scrum Master keeps the team on track, plans, leads the meeting. The Scrum Master is responsible for making sure that the Scrum team is operating as effectively as possible. And the Scrum Master is both a leader and a behind-scenes supporter. And that is why the Scrum Masters are often described as the servant leader of the Scrum team. As for the Product Owner, they ensure that the Scrum team aligns with overall product goals. Some of their responsibilities is to manage the backlog by ordering work by priority, set the product vision, communicate with external stakeholders, and translate their needs to the team. So the team is aware of all the, comments and feedback of the external stakeholders. As for the development team, it is usually composed of professionals, and these professionals, they do the hands-on work of completing the tasks. For example, the data analysts, designers, computer engineers, they can all be in the development team. The responsibilities of the development team will depend on the goals of the Scrum team. So this is basically about the roles and the team size. As for the meetings, the Scrum team holds a daily face-to-face meeting, and these meetings last about 15 minutes. So this is all about the Scrum. As for the pros and cons, of course, everything has advantages and disadvantages. The main advantage, of course, that the Scrum framework helps teams complete project deliverable efficiently. It ensures effective use of time and money. Not only that, large projects can be divided into easily manageable sprints, and also this will let the teams get a clear visibility. It will facilitate the communication. Also being agile, it adopts feedback from customers and stakeholders, and the individual effort of each team member is also visible. As for the disadvantages, the chances of project failure are high in condition if all the individuals are not committed or cooperative. So the cooperation is and being committed is very important. Also, it you should have experienced team members for this framework. So the success of this framework depends on the professionalism and competency of team members. Sometimes daily meetings can be frustrating to the team members. And one more thing, if any member leaves in the middle of a project, it can impact negatively the project. And the last thing, that the quality is hard to implement until the team go through an aggressive testing process. Can we change the slide? Yes. We've mentioned that Scrum teams work best under 10 members. You know, it's for the to have proper communication, so everyone is on the same page. But what to do if you have a large company that has more groups to accommodate? The higher number of developers, for example. In this case, multiple Scrum teams must somehow stay in contact and coordinate their efforts to avoid redundancy and inefficiency. And the best solution for this is Scrum of Scrums meeting, which bring together representatives chosen from each Scrum team. This way, no team gets left out and everyone's resources get allocated in an efficient manner. So Scrum of Scrum is a technique to connect multiple teams who need to work together to deliver a complex project. Regarding the Scrum of Scrum team size, well, it is recommended to follow the same standards applied in the smaller Scrum meetings, no more than 10 attendees. And there should be at least one representative of each Scrum team. Is the representative only the Scrum Master? It can be, but if each team sends only the Scrum Master, there is a risk of bringing limited perspective to the Scrum of Scrums. So sometimes there is a need to send two representatives, and it can be, for example, a Scrum Master and someone with a technical input from the development team. So it depends who is responsible for a deliverable as part of the release plan. The meetings are held twice a week, not every day, and the duration of the meeting is usually 30 minutes, but sometimes it might last up to an hour. It depends on the complexity of the meeting. We can see that Scrum of Scrum teams apply almost the same practices and have similar roles as Scrum teams, only with minor differences. So some of the differences, of course, first, the Scrum of Scrum meetings do not happen every day. Both Scrum and Scrum of Scrum's meeting agenda have similar points like completed work, this is what is discussed, next set of work, any current impediment. However, during the Scrum of Scrum meetings, one additional question should be discussed, which is upcoming impediments that may block the other team. Another difference is the representative of Scrum of Scrum meetings that can change over the course of a typical project. Also, in the daily Scrum meeting, sometimes you can address and identify the problem, and this problem might not be resolved in a daily meeting. It can go to the Scrum of Scrum meetings. I would just like to add one more thing, because sometimes in some organizations, the developer team size is so large that even breaking into Scrum of Scrum isn't enough. So in this case, a Scrum of Scrums meetings are held. And usually these meetings bring the Scrum Master of each Scrum of Scrum meeting. And in project management, they refer this meeting to a large-scale Scrum, LESS. And these meetings, are done to handle hundreds of developers and to manage big organizations. That's it for my presentation today.
Cool. Very good job. Very good job. Do you have any question, guys? I will have a small input, which is, can I type? Cool. For Scrum of Scrum, guys, that it's a duplicate of Scrum teams. If there is a huge scope, more complex scope that we want to achieve, and we know that our Scrum team is, let's say, combined from, let's say, or about 5 to 10 guys, right? Or 5 to 9 guys. And let's say that your project requires more team members. The rule that you cannot go with more than 9 people, including this Scrum Master here, correct? Then, in order to do that, you know that your project will need another team with another Scrum team members, let's say 5, 10, 9, whatever the number is, and one more also with a Scrum Master and another Scrum team layer. So you combine those teams by having those Scrum Masters and maybe one of those guys here on the team members who will go to a weekly meeting where they will meet together, those main point of contact from each team. They will be meeting twice a week in order to discuss what each team has been going through during the previous, let's say, 2 to 3 days or 1 week, depends on how many times they are meeting. So they discuss what they have done, where they are now on the track, what they have finished from or completed from the backlog, and what impediments they have on table, blocking them from moving forward. So this meeting is Scrum of Scrums, and this way of work is Scrum of Scrum. So it's not that much different from the Scrum usual practice that we already know, but it's another layer of having more teams working on the same scope in order to complete those complex projects. This is the big difference between the Scrums and the Scrum of Scrums. Cool. Thank you, Miss Alina. It was very clear and straightforward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.